Welcome to Pink Lake, a bubblegum stretch of water home to a mysterious process which baffled scientists for decades and still draws tourists to the town of Esperance to this day. Except it isn't pink. So why did the colour change? And could we make it pink once again? 950 kilometres north, we arrive at another pink lake, but this time one that's actually pink. To get the full impression though, we need to head high up, or even better, take to the skies. Known as Hutt Lagoon, we are just a little west from Hutt River Province, an unrecognised micronation which once went to war with Australia. But we're not here for esoteric WA history, we're here for the lagoon. So what gives the lake its pink colour? I originally thought that it must be a trick of the light, or potentially that the floor itself was painted pink. But as you can see with a sample of the water, it truly is this weird colour. I also thought that it might be a chemical spill, which is validated by the presence of an ominous-looking chemical production facility on the other side of the lake. We'll get to that facility later, but for now I've asked the UWA Chemistry Department to help me analyse two samples of water, one from Hutt Lagoon and the other from my local duck pond. We found that the Hutt Lagoon sample has 100 times greater salt concentration than the one from the bottom right road. Salt by itself can't make things pink, but the things living inside the water can. I've made some very big, very simple cells with a mix of water and food dye encased in a cellulose membrane. I'll be submerging them into a beaker of fresh water and also a brine solution with a similar salt concentration to that of Hutt Lagoon. After 24 hours, our saltwater cell has shriveled up, while the one in fresh water remains at full size. Inside the cell, we have a low salt concentration, while outside there is a high concentration. Nature hates this sort of imbalance and tries to correct itself. Since salt ions are unable to pass into the cell through the membrane, water is instead pulled out. This is known as osmosis, where the higher the difference in concentration, the greater the osmotic pressure. In salt concentrations like those of Hutt Lagoon, this can literally rip cells apart. As in the immortal words of Dr. Ian Malcolm, life finds a way, which holds true for WA's salty lakes. Dunaliella salina, a type of single-celled microalgae, replaces the water in its cells with a chemical known as glycerol. Now, glycerol is quite similar to water in that it can be used for the foundation of intracellular fluid, but as you can see, it's a lot more viscous. In theory, it's non-toxic and tastes sweet, but given that I got this bottle from the UWA Chemistry Department, there's no way I'm going to be testing that out for myself. After 24 hours, both the brine and freshwater cells have no change. Although there is still the same osmotic pressure as before, the glycerol molecules are too large to pass through the membrane, keeping our cells inflated and alive. Another specialization allowing Dunaliella to thrive in its environment is beta-carotene. It protects them from Australia's harsh sunlight. Beta-carotene also gives carrots their orange colour, but for Dunaliella comes in a rather fetching shade of pink. Since more salt means more osmotic pressure and a tougher environment for regular cells, very salty lakes are populated almost exclusively by Dunaliella. Pink Lake is incredibly salty, and these salt pans form a pure white circumference around the edge. You can bend down to pick up a clump of the stuff, meaning you would never need to buy table salt ever again, which is of course what an early group of entrepreneurs did. From 1896 to 2007, the eastern portion of the lake was converted into 8 solar ponds by the WA Salt Supply Company to extract this resource on an industrial scale. After 100 years of extraction, the salt content of the lake was halved. The salinity fell so far that Dunaliella no longer had its competitive advantage and was outcompeted with other species filling this new niche. Eventually, the pink of Pink Lake vanished. These entrepreneurs missed the true opportunity offered by Pink Lake, the algae itself. As promised, we've now arrived at the Hutt Lagoon chemical processing plant, and we've sent up a drone to survey the area. This facility is owned by BASF, the world's largest chemical producer. One of these chemicals is beta-carotene, the pigment produced by Dunaliella salina. The ponds are kept at a salt concentration of as close to 24% as possible, producing a maximum of 40 grams of dry mass per metre squared per day. From here, the algae are moved into a centrifuge, where they are spun to remove each of the constituents. Eventually, the products are shipped around the world. If you've purchased baby formula, soft drinks, custards, margarines, yogurts, dietary supplements, and pretty much anything that says natural colouring, then there is a decent chance that some of it came from this facility. Some products, particularly those in the beauty sector, can cost $3,000 per kilogram. By extracting the salt and, by extension, the Dunaliella algae from Pink Lake, Esperance missed out on this opportunity. That would normally be the end of the story, except the local town has sort of based their identity on the Pink Lake. There's a Pink Lake Road, IGA, tourist park, and even a butcher's. So, short of dumping in a load of pink food dye, what could we do to make the water pink again? Fortunately, there appears to be a correlation between increasing salt content and the emergence of Dunaliella, at least here in Esperance. When the Great Southwest Highway was built in the 1930s, Lake Warden became the new terminus point of the local catchment system. All the salt which once originally flowed into Pink Lake was now being collected in Lake Warden. In 2011, Lake Warden began to change colour, but instead of turning pink, it's become a more ochre because of the high level of nutrients in the water. Under Esperance is an ancient pool of super salty water, which could be brought to the surface by using pumps. The Shire Council have recently agreed to do a $200,000 trial project, which, even if successful, will still need even more investment to bring it to fruition. However, given the importance of tourism to the local economy, perhaps it is only a matter of time before Pink Lake lives up to its name once again. Esperance's Pink Lake is a tribute not only to nature's ability to thrive in extreme environments, but also reminds us that humans will always find a way to mess up those conditions. Through careful conservation and some extreme engineering, we will be able to revert this lake back to its pink past. This has been James Dingley from the Atomic Frontier. Keep looking up.